Nowadays, everyone's talking about war like it's no big deal. Like a civil war would magically fix everything that's wrong with this country. And what if we did go ahead and burn it all down and start over? It wouldn't even matter. It wouldn't matter because we haven't learned anything. We just turn right back around and rebuild the same broken thing we had before. But only this time, it would have even more problems. And I hate to break it to you people, but that's not how any of this works. You don't really want a civil war. You want a fight that you think you can win. A fight that lets you go home and sleep in your own bed when it's all over. And people, that's a controlled fantasy. That's not real change. The reality is the loudest voices calling for a war have never lived through a war. So how does someone who's never been through or seen a war reach the point of wanting a war, especially with their own neighbors? The only thing I can come up with, it starts with frustration, man. Lots of real day-to-day frustrations. But nowadays, millions of Americans feel this way. So that's not so much about politics. It's more about just being human, I guess. But then you throw something else in the mix. The algorithm. And the algorithm learns what makes you angry and it feeds you a constant supply of it. Because it knows that anger and outrage get clicks and shared. And as that happens, the calmer voices in the room, they start to fall back, they start to disappear. And the loudest ones in the room, they get more and more famous. And suddenly, it's not just the system that's against you. We've been divided. It's us versus them. And now you're fed a constant supply of negative information that only confirms your worst fears about the other side. And who knows? Maybe some of the stories are true and maybe they're not. But now, they're not just wrong, they're dishonest. And of the people who are shouting the loudest for a war, most have never served. And most have never been shot at or had to drag their friend's body through the dirt. They're just angry and frustrated, and they think that violence will give them the control that they seek. And they believe that by tearing everything down, it'll somehow make everything better. But people, in reality, a war just destroys what's already there without fixing any of the underlying problems. You see, war isn't a video game. It's not all flags and speeches and clearly drawn battle lines. It's hell. It's pure and utter chaos. You see, your neighborhood grocery store gets emptied out in 2 days. Your street is now a militarized checkpoint. And your cell phone service is completely gone, and who knows for how long. And your lights are out. And now your neighbors, the same ones that you waved at last week, well, they're armed now. And they're looking at you like you're a threat. And that fantasy that some people are walking around with about a civil war, that it'll be clean and heroic and have a clear winner. Reality is, none of those things are true, people. But I'm not a soldier. I've never been to war. So I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you what it's like. But what I am going to do is let the people who've been there tell you. Because, see, their words are going to carry a hell of a lot more weight than mine ever could. Now, these comments that I'm about to read to you, they came directly from my Civil War videos. And if you haven't seen those videos, please, by all means, go out there and check them out. They're very eye-opening, to say the least. But this first comment, it came from a retired Army veteran. And this is what he had to say about war. These are his words. It's only those who haven't seen war that long for it. And this next guy, this touched me a little, man. I'm not going to lie. These his words. You can feel that war had a profound effect on him. He said, war will change you. I had to find something more to live for afterwards. And that was the hardest thing I ever had to endure. And I went through it all by myself. I still fight with this from time to time. And that's from a 20-year Army veteran. I don't know, man. Some of these stories. And this next guy, man, he did 2 tours. He said 2 tours in the Middle East, nothing but urban warfare. People have no idea what hell a civil war would be. The streets would be soaked in blood. Your neighborhoods would never be the same. Your town would never be the same. This country would never be the same. And people, that comes from a 20-year veteran of the United States Army. So you see, people, a civil war wouldn't solve our problems. It would simply serve to create more problems. And as a result, we would lose the very country that we're fighting so hard to try to save. Because even if you win, what's left to rule? A divided nation with no power grid, no trust, and no real foundation to rebuild on? That doesn't sound like much of a second chance to me. But see, people, right now, we still have a choice. We just have to stop letting the loudest, angriest voices in the room decide for us where this ends up going. And stop wishing for war like it's some kind of a cleansing. Because if you truly love this country like I do, you build instead of burn. And we talk to each other instead of shoot at each other. And we listen before we post. Because people, I can assure you of this. The minute real bullets start flying and people start dying, you'll wish like hell you never asked for it. But I guess some things you realize too late. We're not fighting an enemy. We're fighting our own reflection. These are our neighbors. And please, by all means, to all my veterans out there, if you've ever been to war, please drop your story down below. People need to hear it. People need to hear it straight from the guys who've lived through it, because once you live through it, you never wish for it again. And I'm going to start airing more of these comments so people will have a more realistic view of what war is really like, and not this fictionalized fantasy view of war. And people, by all means, if you have anything that you want to add to this, comments or thoughts of wisdom or words of advice, it doesn't matter. Drop it down below and let's talk about it. Because here at Man to Man, this is where we have those tough conversations that people aren't having. We're going to have them here. Even if they're tough, even if they're painful, even if your views don't align with my views, let's still talk. Let's find some compromise. Let's find that middle ground. But hey, I've taken up enough time. At any rate, I'm Unc. Take care of yourself and each other. Kindness, love, respect. Show a little more of these, please, because the world really needs it right now. I'll catch you guys in the next one.